Do you ever feel that a lot of what you improvise sounds the same? Or that you wish you could be more bold when improvising with others? Or maybe you'd like to breathe more life into your scores and composing methods. Well, we all know that both improvisers and composers alike often ponder over ideas that aim to clarify and enlarge their musical horizons. But how can you put these ideas to use? That's where open composition comes in. One unique approach of mixing composition with improvisation. In this video, we'll take a look at what they are, how to create and play them, and speak with a master of open composition and intuitive music. Coming right up. Today we will look at yet another creative method of approaching improvisation: open compositions. Open compositions are compositions for improvisers, or compositions that are open to creative co-work from performers during performance, as defined by the legendary Carl Bergström-Nielsen, one of the most important composers and scholars of open compositions alive. And we have him here with us today, all the way from Denmark, to discuss the ideas of improvising with open compositions and how you could start creating your own. Not only is Carl a veteran improviser, but he's also a composer, musicologist, music coach, and music therapist. He has written an amazing amount of open compositions as well as other material. It's not difficult to spend hours getting lost in his database of a website on free improvisation or intuitive music and anything that relates to it. I highly recommend that you check it out. There's a link in the description. Open compositions can be anything from a simple one-line command to improvisers, such as play soft, to a complex array of instructions, images, diagrams, traditional music notation, even props, and more. This book is a compilation of a handful of open compositions by Carl titled From the Danish Seasons. In the introduction, he states, "The pieces are meant as frameworks. If something is fixed, do it exactly as it must be done. In questions of doubt, however, take responsibility to decide yourself and use your creative freedom." In it, we can find a collection of compositions for improvisers. And with it, we can understand how open compositions work and how wide-ranging they can be. Let's have a look at an open composition from a series called From a Center. This series deals with the idea of giving improvisers a central sound to keep coming back to that functions similar to how a tonic might function in tonal music. Yet in this case, anything can be used, such as faint, swarming figures, deep and buzzing, very long tones, one common tone, very faint, beautiful tones and sounds, scratching and rubbing sounds. We agreed to try out number 6, with the center being beautiful tones and sounds.
Yes, shall I explain?
Yes, you shall.
Number 6. At the core, there are beautiful tones and sounds. Then we have sometimes a contrast to the beautiful sounds, or we have excesses, things which are almost too beautiful. And we could have still other things that allows for, well, different ideas. But it says, stay inside the center much of the time with those beautiful tones and sounds. Throw that which is there in relief by means of the other things. So that's it. Instead of having, as you know, a central tone like sometimes called tonic and all the others in relation to that in tonal music, then you have in this music this definition of central kind of sound.
This is your gravity.
Yeah.
Nice. I like it. We shall play it.
Yeah.
But isn't open composition the same as graphic notation? Let's look at the difference between the two. Generally, graphic notation depends a great deal on interpretation from the performers. While some interpretation might be involved, it's not the main feature of open compositions. Open compositions rely on specific directions for improvisers. You can compare it to board games. Players understand the directions, then play the game. Though, unlike the competitive aspects of board games, players are usually cooperative in open composition performances. With open compositions, we have our directions and then the visual score, the game board, to guide us or play off of. Because the directions are important, many open compositions are text-heavy, not with seemingly random words spread out here and there like many graphic scores, but full sentences or even paragraphs that require the performer's attention. Also, a lot of graphic scores attempt to achieve a visual aesthetic, as if the score by itself is a work of art for the eyes. While some open compositions might also achieve that, it's far from a priority. Of course, they can both overlap. So with that, we have this beautiful quote that can be applied to both kinds of scores. Graphic notations have the aim not to play the piece, but to live with the piece. Besides being pure fun to write and perform, open compositions are healthy for improvisers. They can function as exercises, as Carl states here.
In free improvisation, sometimes there's a feeling that we may do more or less the same piece all the time. Sometimes improvisers need to pull themselves together or to do something in order not to get too much into a habit. And one very popular way of doing it is playing with different people, because they might really inspire you differently. And it's also very common to do exercises in order to get into some new ideas and sustain them for a while, to explore some new ways to play. And indeed, this open composition is nothing but an extension of this, reflecting and defining, why don't we try this?
Such as this, I would call it a mechanic here.
Yeah, you can say that.
And
but it belongs to this specific piece.
Yes.
I don't say always do like that.
Of course, yeah.
It's just a piece.